One of the most common compliments that I get is on my skin. Everyone wants to know what I do from skincare to procedures. So I trust it all to Skinworks Wellness in Hendersonville, Tennessee. Let me tell you, they know what they're doing. Whether it's hydrofacials to fillers or a full skin reset, they've got you covered. Be sure to follow them on Instagram and Facebook. They're always dropping monthly specials and flash sales. You do not want to miss these. And the best part is that consultations are always free. Book now and thank me later. Hey guys, welcome back for another episode of Elite Life with Sam. I'm your girl Sam, and today I'm going to talk about something that I think we all kind of struggle with at different points in our life. I was actually talking to my bookkeeper earlier today, Ben, and of course we were discussing business per usual, and he said something that made me pause in my tracks. We were talking about new ventures and investments, and he said, not everybody is going to have the guts to move when you move. And that's why not everyone is on the same level. And what you have to do is figure out who can go into your next chapter with you and who stays behind. And I thought back, and it probably struck me in a way that he didn't quite intend, because I think about where my kids are, and a lot of times, of course, raising teenagers, I try to relate to them, and I think back to when I was a teenager and how I was presented with situations and choices and scenarios that maybe they were never presented with because my life looked different than theirs. And as much as I try to relate to my kids and where they are, my life even looked totally different at 16 and 14 than theirs looks today. And I got a really cool text from my oldest son. We text all the time, funny memes and just check-ins and things like that. And out of the blue, he sent me a text on my way to work this morning, and he said, "Hey," and immediately my stomach always drops with just the "hey" text. Obviously, I'm like, hey could mean anything. It could mean I blew a tire, or I got into a wreck, or can you transfer money into my account? And so I reluctantly responded, and he said, "Thank you for raising me the way that you have/do." And it took me back because, one, obviously that is a very, very sweet, thoughtful, considerate message. But on the other hand, I thought, wow, it mattered. The decisions that I made in intentional parenting, he gets it. Like, he's recognizing it. And I don't know, it just having that experience and then having the experience with Ben later on, I immediately sat down at my computer and wrote up some points that I want to share with you guys, and maybe it will help you to find some clarity in a transitional moment in your life. And so the first point is the loneliness of change. And the core truth of this is that growing is clarifying, clarifying is separating, separation feels lonely when it's good for you. And I think back to about 2020, when the world was in absolute chaos and everything shut down, and small communities of people seemed to really lean into one another and bond. And we were no different. We had a core group of friends that really bonded together. And at that time in my life, I really needed this core group of friends. It was other couples with children in our very immediate vicinity whose kids all had, gone to school together and whatnot. And we really leaned on one another to get through those really tough years, because COVID, I think, brought out the best and the worst in all kinds of people. And these were couples that I really thought were going to be in my life just as close for the rest of my life. And I I look at where my life is now, and it's not that we don't speak, it's just that we're in completely different seasons of life. And Rich and I went through some things that I've shared on this podcast, and one day I will tell details when I can, when the time is right and the dust is all settled and I feel like the gag has been taken off my mouth. I will tell that detailed story. But for now, what I'll say is that for me personally, it was between 2020 and 2022, I lived in this, even though the world was going crazy, I lived in this bubble. And then late 22, the bubble burst. And harsh realities that not everybody has the same intentions were realized. And so at that point, I knew that Rich and I had to really focus. It changed our mindset about certain things in business and in life and decisions that we had made and people that we had chosen to trust. And we had to grow from that, and we had to grow together, and we had to get stronger, and we had to educate ourselves, and we had to make really hard decisions. And that spawned over the following 2 years a really, really formative time that changed the trajectory of the rest of our lives. And during that time, I realized that growth and boundaries can feel really devastatingly lonely, but that can't be enough of a reason to go back and to regress and to stop the growth journey that you're on, because you can't unknow what you know, and you can't unsee what you see, and it changes you internally. And so if you don't make a decision to push through the loneliness, because let's be honest, flowers don't help each other grow. They don't help each other push through the layers of soil and pop out on the other side. Flowers don't help each other's roots go deeper and weather the storms. That's something that's individual that they have to do for themselves. And so seasons of growth, like I said, are just like that and can feel really lonely. But there is another side to that. On the other side of that, you will figure out how to build a different community. And I'm not saying that those people who you were so close with in the beginning can't still be there, but maybe they're going to be there in a different capacity. Or maybe they won't be there at all. And that's a hard truth that I think we grieve a lot of relationships that are lost through that. Nobody warned me that becoming better would feel like a breakup with my old life. And sometimes I do grieve the girl that I was before this season of growth in my life. She was whimsical and happy and beautifully chaotic. And I look back at that girl and I long to be her sometimes, but sometimes I'm just so grateful that I had that season in life, that I could be her for a little while, just ridiculously happy and ignorant to everything. Sometimes growth looks like eating dinner alone because you refuse to keep shrinking yourself at the wrong table. Sometimes we tend to lessen ourselves and our accomplishments and our dreams to make other people comfortable. There's a saying that I absolutely love and I identify with it so much, is that sometimes people have a hard time digesting me, and that's okay. You can choke. So maybe ask yourself, where in your life do you feel lonely? Because are you actually outgrowing something? Or is life calling you to level up? Is your experiences calling you to create healthier boundaries, to redefine the relationships that you have in your life? The next point is outgrowing people that you love. And this core truth is that outgrowing someone is not the same as being better than them. It's about different directions, not different worth. And our ego can step in and convince us that if someone is in um, a different season of life, we have a terrible habit of comparing what we see on the outside. My life to her life to her life. We're all guilty of it. I'm guilty of it. Social media has created this horrible game, this mental game of comparison, and we also do it in real life. But here is the catch to that. All you see is the choice that is made, not the options given that they had to choose from. And so I would really caution you, if this is you and you feel that twinge of jealousy or envy when you fall into the trap of comparison, ask yourself, do I have even enough information? Would I really, if I knew everything, would I still feel this way? And if others are looking at you and where you're at in your life and the relationships that you have and the opportunities that you have, and they are feeling envious and choosing negativity, you know what I'm talking about, shooting the darts from across the room, the ugly looks, the whispers behind your back, just remember that has absolutely nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. Like I mentioned before, I had this really close group of friends, and during this really hard time, and I went into a really deep place of depression and self reflection and really deep therapy work to heal traumas that I had suppressed, that this current situation had brought back to the forefront, and just figuring out what I wanted out of life and relationships in general. There were a couple of the girls that I really started seeing the relationship for what it was. And there was a lot of negativity that I just didn't want on me anymore. I didn't want to be in a group of just talking shit about your husband. Not saying it's not okay to vent, it is. But when that happens literally every time you get together, you're bitching about your life, your job, your kids, your husband. There's nothing negative to be, or nothing positive to be said. That's where I was. And I was like, I don't want this. I want to sit and talk about ideas and opportunities, and I want to learn from my friends, and I want my friends to learn from me, and I want to travel, and I want to eat great food, and I don't want to be content with bitching and complaining and being complacent in where I'm at. If I'm not happy, you're not a tree. You have legs. Get up and move. And it was really hard to make the decision to step away from those friendships, understanding that if they chose personal growth, I could facilitate those relationships again. But there was a moment, because I'm the type of person that I want to bring people with me. I want to do everything in my power to give them the same mindset and the same opportunities that I had. But here are two pitfalls that we are so tempted to fall into. And one is, in doing that, if they're not ready and they're not ready to make those choices, you're going to be wasting precious energy on, it's like asking water to come from a rock. They just can't give you that. And the next thing is, for me, let me speak for myself. I will fall into a place of guilt, of feeling like I didn't try hard enough. I'm a terrible person for walking away. I didn't love them enough. But sister, you've got to love yourself enough to move away from the negativity. Also, there's a fear of wondering if you're going to end up alone. Now, listen, women are pack minded. We are meant to be in a fellowship with other women, the village mentality. And it's very, very natural for us to think, or to have the underlying fear of, if I move away from this group of women, am I going to be ostracized? Am I going to be alone? And let me reassure you by saying, there are other like minded women. you will gravitate towards them. If you go through a season of loneliness, that is just opportunity for you to grow, to figure out what you want, what you believe, mindset shifts, health shifts, focus on your own health, mental, spiritual, and physical. I think that loneliness can be a really beautiful gift. Elite Customs isn't just building cars, they're building a culture. As a female owner in a male dominated industry, we are proud to pioneer a new kind of experience with women in mind. One where women feel empowered and inspired in the custom car space. From wraps to audio and everything in between, Elite is a full service custom shop that makes your dreams a reality. Women want badass rides too, am I right? Follow Elite Customs TN on Instagram and TikTok. Inquire online at elitecustomstn.com. By appointment only, and consultations are always free. The next point is that there is grief in shedding your old identities. Even when the old version of you was unhealthy, small, or hurt, she still kept you alive. Letting her go can feel like losing a friend. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. I'll never forget one day I was sitting in therapy and I was angry at myself for different situations that I felt like I, quote, allowed myself to be in for far too long. As a child, the abuse that went on in my childhood, as a teenager, different scenarios that I had been in, staying quiet, staying small, staying submissive when I should have stood up and spoke up for myself, or so I thought. And now I tell Rich all the time, we didn't meet until I was 30 years old. And I was a completely different person by the time that we met. And so was he. If this is your first time listening, Rich is my husband. We've been together since 2018. And he asks lots of questions about my childhood and growing up and my past. And I always tell him, you wouldn't have liked or respected the person that I was before you met me. And I truly believe that to my core, because the woman he knows now is strong and confident and outspoken and not afraid of anything and inquisitive. I will learn literally anything that you put in front of me. But the woman and the girl that I was very, very scared and timid and submissive. And I stayed stuck for a very long time. And I believed what the quote authorities in my life told me I should believe. And I didn't hold on to a very strong core belief system because I was comfortable with being told what to believe. And I was so angry and ashamed of that person that I used to be. And my therapist said this, and it released me from, I can't tell you how many years of guilt and shame. She said, you really need to get to a place where you love that girl because she kept you safe for so many years. She did what she had to do to survive. And I thought, wow, what a lightning bolt, realization. And from that day forward, when I think back to that girl and that young woman that I look at her through a lens of empathy, because I see she did the best she could given the set of choices that she was given. And I try so much to inwardly go back to her and love on her and tell her everything is fine. We made it out. We became the woman that we wanted to be. And I forgive you and I love you. You aren't betraying anything by transforming into who you are. I struggle with that as well because I came out of a life of ministry. Maybe you don't know my story. I would love for you to go back and listen to the episode where I tell more of my my personal story. But I was in ministry for many, many years, and walking away from the church It was a breaking point in my life where I knew I had to get out of the marriage I was in and the lifestyle that I was in and the church that I was in, the organized religious mindset, or I was literally going to die. I was mentally and physically suffering so badly. Depression had hit, anxiety had taken hold, and I was drowning. And so it was a last ditch effort to save my own life. And when I walked away, I struggled with this identity loss, like I was such a liar. Or am I a liar now? Am I denouncing everything I believed? Am I turning my back on everything I believed? Or was I deceived for all of these years? Because one thing that's so important to me is authenticity and being true to myself. And um, I had to really grab hold of the truth that transition and transformation is just as authentic. So there is a concept of it's okay to change your mind when you are given more information and you learn about something. The internet is so quick to capture a snapshot in time. If someone says something publicly or makes a quote or stands on, a certain belief, and then years later, if they change that, oh well, they're two-faced. They talk out of both sides of their mouth. You can't believe anything they say because they switch up like the wind. Listen, that's not true. One, we are finding new information out every single day. We're learning at different rates of speed. New information, we're not all given the same information at the same time. And so if you decide to change your mind or change up what you believe or your mindset or what you're doing in life based off of new information that you've received, bravo. I cannot clap for you loud enough because it takes bravery to say, I don't like living like this, or this is no longer my truth, or even, hey, I was wrong, and then changing publicly what you believe, say, or do. What a beautiful, beautiful thing to do. The next point is mom guilt. Now, I know I've talked about this before, but it's still there. It's still relevant. And the truth is that moms are set up to feel guilty no matter what we do. Work too much? Guilty. Stay home? Guilty. Take time for yourself? Guilty. Never take time for yourself? Guilty. Sister, we are playing a losing game, so we might as well do what we want anyways. I have shared in the same thought of, oh my God, am I raising my kids okay? I don't know how else to put it. I wanted so badly to just raise children that didn't need to spend thousands in therapy. And I initially wanted to do everything so differently than the way I was raised. And I have questioned myself and put my parenting under a microscope, and I've cried about it and I've prayed about it and I've talked to Rich until I'm blue in the face, and he for years has continued to remind me, you're a good mom. Like, you provide them everything you need. And I still, at the end of the day, question myself, oh my God, did I approach this conversation right? Did I lose my temper too much? Did I have enough patience? Was I there enough? Did I spoil them enough? Did I spoil them too much? Are they going to be, prosperous parts of our society? Oh my gosh, the list goes on. And I wonder, do men have this? Not saying they don't or do. I truly wonder, do men go to bed at night playing back all of their parenting choices from that day? And then someone told me this, and she's mommed 3 amazing human beings, very productive parts of society, incredible parents themselves, incredible human beings. And she said, Sam, the fact that you care enough to worry tells me already that you're a good mom. Oh, girl, I needed to hear that. So if that's you today, allow me to release you from the stronghold of mom guilt just for a minute. I'm not saying it's not ever going to rear its ugly head or be there again. It probably will, but the sheer fact that you care enough to worry yourself half to death says you're already a good mom. You are winning. And listen, a little bit of trauma adds enough spice that they will be entertaining. Let's go back to leveling up and why that makes people uncomfortable. The truth about the matter is that your growth is a mirror to them. I cannot love this concept enough because that takes the responsibility of people being uncomfortable off of you and puts it back to them. Some people look at your growth and they see hope. Others will look at your growth and see everything that they're avoiding. Take two friends, for instance. Say two girls grew up in the same town and went to the same school and relatively had, similar family structures. And one decided that she wanted to go to college and be a nurse. And another decided that she wanted to move away and be a realtor. Now, both are fantastic paths to take. We need nurses. We need people who will stand bedside and hold the hand of people who are suffering and reassure them that everything's going to be okay and help the families to cope with whatever is happening. And that is such a beautiful, worthy path to take. We also need realtors, people who facilitate transitions in lives and new chapters and help people through difficulties, transitioning out of being a homeowner and maybe going into assisted living, or it's a new couple who is buying their first home. And these are all huge milestones in life, and no one is greater than the other. But what if the girl who decided to go to college and be a nurse did that because that was the path of least resistance, and what she really wanted was to move to New York and pursue her dreams of being a Broadway singer? And every day she wakes up and she sees the girl who pursued her joy and her passion in life of becoming a realtor, and she envies her every single day. Now, nothing wrong with moving away and being a realtor. Nothing wrong with being a nurse. What is wrong is going against your inner passions. And there have definitely been times in my life when I have caught wind of people from my small town who have decided that they were just going to talk shit about all of my decisions to leave, to pursue different things. I've reinvented myself multiple times in my life. I've done everything from being a early Head Start teacher, like I said, being in ministry, being a traveling singer. I've owned my own decorative painting company, an interior design company, and I've owned a boutique, and now I co-own auto businesses with my husband, and we're not even done yet. We have so many plans to do so much more, and it's going to shock the pants off of people. And the only reason why anybody would talk shit about me is because they feel insecure about the fact that they didn't have enough guts to follow their own dreams. And so it makes me a little sad for them, but it also makes me giggle on the inside because I know that what I'm doing for them to talk that much crap about me is I'm just a mirror for their own shortcomings and their own failures. So, guys, I hope that you took something away from this segment today, and I hope that I was able to encourage you a little bit and into a season of growth and rediscovery, and give you if nothing else, permission to get out there, try something new, do it with confidence, whether that's entering into therapy or counseling or moving away from a town that makes you feel small and stuck, trying a new business venture, whatever the case may be. I am rooting for you and I am cheering for you. You can find me on all social media platforms. It's Elite Life with Sam. And until next time, guys, bye.